We have got another early opportunity to get Leonardo in Raid Shadow Legends. How the heck are you guys? I am Fastidious, and yes, once again, Leonardo is headlining a summon pool here with Prism Crystals, Prism Shards, and all that good stuff. We previously had a full TMNT pool where there were 4 headliners, and those were April, Raphael, Donatello, and of course, Leonardo. Leonardo is back, and thankfully, he only has one other headliner, and the other headliner is pretty wacky. Tetsuya is the faction unity champ for the Shadowkin, and he is incredibly strong. I'm actually so thrilled they chose to pair Leo with him because, yes, you'll have to get lucky, but if you hit that 1.5% chance with your Prism Shards, you're going to get something incredible. Either the phenomenal Leonardo, who is definitively the best turtle at this point, though all the turtles are so good. And by the way, this is kind of a pool with 2 Unity champs, right? Because though it's not a faction, Leonardo is the TMNT Unity champion. He's the one tying it all together. They're boosting him. And then if you've got 3 other turtles, kinda everything is getting boosted. So he's kind of the TMNT Unity. And then he's paired with another Rockstar, right? A great faction Unity champion. There are no bad faction Unity champions in Raid, but I do think Tetsuya is one of the stronger ones. We will break down his kit quickly if you're unfamiliar, as we will do with Leonardo, and I'll give my general thoughts on the other units here from the remaining legendaries in this pool. There is a lot of good stuff here, do not worry. But first, it is hard to discuss a summon pool headlined by Leonardo without addressing the elephant in the room, and that is, when is his hero's path coming? It is all but hard confirmed at this point. We are going to get Leonardo made available to us in the Swordmaster Path event. How exactly will that happen? What will we need to do to earn points? That is not 100% known, though it is extremely likely you will have to use your normal shard summons. However, for a lot of people, if you were planning to buy Prism Crystals anyway, and you're particularly interested in this pool, this is a nice early opportunity where they are featuring him in a very specific summoning event. And we've got a decent opportunity. I mean, a lot of RNG goes into this. The rates are the rates. This is Raid Shadow Legends. But they have given us a lot of early bites at the apple. And I say early because these are the things leading up to what should be the big event, and that is the Swordmaster Path event. That is the Leonardo Hero's Path. So what have they done so far? We talked about that TMNT summon pool where it was April and then the 3 turtles that weren't the login champ, Michelangelo. So we got our Leonardo there along with April, Donatello, and Raphael. And then he's been on Raid Up through Void Shards twice already, including a 2x by 10x. I am here right now on Larry's account. We're on the last Fastidious account, Larry plus Fastidious. And you can see we're absolutely locked and loaded. We have 3,500 Prism Crystals. This is not to the level of the 4,800 or whatever we did during the first TMNT summon pool, but it is 87 Prism Shards. So if you want to see that go down, check out my video tomorrow. We're going to go ballistic. We are all in for Leonardo. But that being said, if you want to wait for the event, that is not a bad decision because Prism pools are fairly pay to win. If you're going to do them like Larry over here, they're enormously pay to win, but to begin with, they're pretty darn pay to win. You can really only get the 1 freebie each time, and you cannot stockpile them in any conventional way. So here we go. Let's talk about this pool pretty quick and if it's worth it for you. And I think for some people, it likely is. I actually am going for this pool. I have not gone for a pool in 2 months, I think, on my main account. My main account looks a lot different than Larry's account, and not just because his account is infinitely better and he's an incredible whale in this game that is playing at a top level and summoning at a ridiculous level. Mine is kind of very min-maxing, even though I am a decent spender with my $150 a month balling on a budget. I'm really trying to min-max my stockpiles, so I'm ready for a Leonardo event and a Raphael event. So personally, I am sitting on either 18 or 19 Sacreds. I've got 10 Primals. I've got like 150 Ancients and far less Mysteries than Larry. I think my Voids are at about 20 or 25. So I'm in pretty good shape, but I'm in a sweaty situation. And I bring myself up because it does relate to the Prism pool. I am choosing to go for the Prism pool because I like the pool, as you're going to hear, and I love these headliners. Obviously, Leonardo, and then the fantastic Tetsuya the Deliverer. But on top of that, because I am still anticipating I'm not going to pull Leonardo and I want to stay on top of things for the Swordmaster Path event, assuming you need to do shards to get points, which I think is supremely likely, I'm trying to find opportunities where I don't have to spend my shards. Unlike Larry, I have a big stockpile of shards. He's ripping them all the time. It's a different situation for this guy. So the Prism Pool is really relevant because if you're also like me and you're going for the Granite Doorkeep fusion, we have a champ chase coming this weekend, and it would be really great to use as few shards as possible in that champ chase, and a great way to do that is with your Prism shards, right? If you buy this $50 pack over here, which Larry's already bought a few times, you can see you get 210 crystals. One summon is 40 crystals, so that's just over 5 summons. So if you have anything left over, which I actually do, I have 30 crystals on my account right now, you can get up to a 6th summon. So I'll be at 240, and those are gonna be 6 pulls. So whether you're doing 5 pulls or 6 pulls, the worst case scenario with a Prism shard is getting an Epic, which is 250 champ chase points. So with those 5 pulls, you're guaranteed a floor of 1,250 points. And if you have 6, that's going to be 1,500 points. And if you have more, that's going to be even more. And you can confidently do that knowing that Prism shards were never going to count towards a path event anyway. So you don't have to really feel like you're taking away more than you have to from your stockpiles. So that's something I want to get out of the way because I do think it's fairly strategic, especially if you're a decent spender. If you're a very light spender, I don't think it works. But for moderate spenders and above, it could be a $50 well spent. All right, let's talk about the pool, beginning with big picture. How good do I think this pool is? Pretty good. I think it's one of the better ones we've had in a while. These faction-specific pools are never going to be as good as an anniversary pool where every single legendary is goated, but there are a lot of good legendaries in the Shadowkin, and a lot of them are featured here. So let's actually start with these legendaries, and then we're going to break down Leonardo and Tetsuya. We've got something phenomenal in the form of Harima. Just unbelievable. Defense-based, crazy, crazy damage. She's got the provoke for the lockout, essentially. An incredible kit, decrease attack, everything you really want, and a just ridiculously good passive that's just going to enable so much survivability, especially in a Ghost second team, just fully passively nerfing the ignore defense capabilities of your enemies. There's a lot of other good stuff here, but Harima is awesome. Then we've got Noble, who in my opinion totally sucks. However, he is the empowerment champion for Ninja. So if you already have Ninja, picking up a Noble is not the worst thing in the world. And if you don't have Ninja and you pick up Noble, let's just hope they run him again for a 3rd time. I really think it's crazy that they don't just run Ninja once a year or something. So hopefully they bring him back. I think they will. Am I biased because I don't have him? Of course. Lady Kimmy now, the absolute speedster. They're saying 105 here, but it's got to be 115 at max. I'm not crazy. I'm not a crazy person, right? Let's see. Yes, I'm right. 115. So one of our fastest units in the entire game. A very good support kit. She's not top for anything, but she's legitimately good for a lot. Then we have one of my more wanted champions in the game in Michinaki, an unbelievable hexer, defense-based. He's a nice thick boy with a Ghost Rider head. I think he looks really cool, and I think his kit is really interesting. I love a good defense-based champion, and I love Hex, so I think that's pretty sweet. If we look at Ishiyama, this is one of the duds for sure. Solid HP-based nuker, interesting debuffing, but nothing special, and he was a very recent fusion. This would be a disappointment for a lot of players, in my opinion. Then we've got Arashi, the Riptide. He's extremely good in certain PvP scenarios. Really, really limited use outside of PvP, unfortunately. And actually, the places he can really shine in PvP are a little specific. But if you want a pretty specific, very cool HP-based nuker, he's not a bad pickup at all. He's certainly not to the level of a Harima or anything close, but he's someone that could be really relevant and fun on your account, but definitely not an overall kind of guy. Then we have a very underrated champion, Kyoku. Really, really cool kit, really nice passive, triggering that increased defense. Kind of feels, with that passive at least, like a legendary Seeker. And just a really nice kit. Defense-based again, incredible debuffing, some really nice support skills as well, a great all battles aura. That's not a bad pickup. And finally, we have Gamuran. Gamuran is really fun if you're getting sick and tired of Sun Wukong and you just want to place the block revive on him while he's dead and be done with it already. The damage is okay, maybe a little better than okay. He's much better than he used to be, which is saying nothing because he was absolute dog water. But you kind of get what I'm pointing towards. There's no enormous dud here. The closest is probably Ishiyama or noble if you don't have ninja and you're pessimistic about a ninja return. Then I would say Garurumon is kind of a bummer. I guess we're doing rankings now, heading from worst to the top. So next up, I'd say Arashi, a little specific, but can be really fun and cool in PvP. Then I'll go Kyoku. I think she's more versatile. Then I'm going to say kind of a tie between Lady Kimi and Michinaki. I'm partial to Michinaki because he looks so cool, and I think he's a little more unique, but Lady Kimi is an amazing, amazing supporter. Personally, I'm going to go Lady Kimi, then number 2 is going to be Michinaki, and then Harima would be the ultimate coup. I mean, Harima is the star outside of these headliners. And even still, I mean, Harima is that freaking good. Let's talk now about the headliners before we do the fastest word on the epics. Pretty good epic pool. It's not a stinker epic pool. There's some good, there's some bad. There's enough good that I think if you're a new player, you can still justify it, though I wouldn't be pulling for the epics if you're a new player. This is the kind of pool you're definitely hunting legendaries. So let's start with Leonardo. I've broken him down on the channel a few different times. I'll be making a guide on him fairly soon. Do not worry. I'm just waiting till we get him on Larry's account. Hopefully these 87 pulls are going to get the job done. They frickin' better after we did like 116 on the last Prism Pool he was a headliner on. But the kid is amazing. I mean, there's a reason the Krakens of the world like Larry are going all out for Leonardo. It's not just because he's many people's favorite turtle. He's a really cool turtle, undeniably, but the kid is wild and wacky. It's incredible. He is a Void legendary. His kit synergizes beautifully. He is the TMNT Unity champion. So I'm going to break down the whole kit for you, but as fast as I can. Let's start with that aura, 33% all battles. Pretty dang spicy. He is defense-based. He has excellent base stats. You can't see it here because they're showing him at 5 stars. Actually, let me show it here so we can see him and Tetsuya at their proper abilities, their proper stats. So look at that defense. 1619 is an outrage. That is amazing. If he's the leader, another 33% is wild. Let's get into New York Slice now. His A1, a man after my own heart. As a New Yorker, who doesn't like a good slice? He's got a double hitter here. When he's counterattacking, he will repeat this attack against a random enemy. He will counterattack a lot because you'll see from his S2, he places an unkillable end counterattack buff on himself every time you trigger this. That's going to be for 2 turns. I do want to finish up the A1. He additionally will ignore 3% of the target's defense for each buff on this champion, and that stacks up to 5 buffs, which is then ignoring 15% of defense. Just like every one of his skills, it is defense-based, and you can see he puts out a lot of buffs. He's going to self-buff twice with his S2, the unkillable and the counterattack, and we will go on to the insanely powerful passive, but he very consistently self-applies a stone skin. So a lot of the time, just selfishly, without any help, as a one-man army, he can be giving himself 3 buffs, which makes this a very, very powerful A1, ignoring 9% of the target's defense on top of everything else you've built upon him, always doing a minimum of a double hitter, and very often hitting another random enemy when he counterattacks and throwing out 2 more hits. Very good. If we go to the S2, the amount of support here, the amount of buffing is wild. He places a big version increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns and an ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. So there's actually a 4th buff he's giving himself because this increased defense is a full AoE also landing on himself. So it's increased defense, unkillable, counterattack. From just this skill, that's 3 buffs, that's 9% defense ignored from the basic, and then very often he's going to have himself under Stone Skin, so it is phenomenal. Additionally, he places the unkillable buff and the counterattack buff on himself. This books down to a 3-turn cooldown. He absolutely is the kind of champion you want to book out. He is worth the skill tome investment for sure, so you'll have this at a 3-turn cooldown. This is such a good skill. Let's go to the S3 now. Another insanely good skill. It is a big AoE attack. Very likely you've used the S2 already and he's under increased defense. So the amount of DPS on it is exceptional. Moreover, he's going to increase his damage for every buff on every ally and every enemy. So I'll do some quick adding up with you. He's putting 2 out on himself, potentially a 3rd with the stone skin. Then he's giving increased defense to all the other allies and himself. So either 4 or 5 more, depending if it's PvP content or PvE content. And then it's an additional 3 or 4 buffs from the ally protect. Again, if it's PvP or PvE, if it's a 4-man team or a 5-man team. And that is just counting the buffs he himself is putting out. So any other buffs going out from allies or enemies, It's just ramping up and ramping up. There is so much content where you're going to get an incredible damage increase from this skill, and you're going to hit super hard. It books down to a 3-turn cooldown as well. You can get a lot of other damage from it. I know people don't love these damage skill ups, but plus 30% extra damage is insane. And finally, he has an irresistible AoE buff strip if he kills any enemy. He's going to remove all buffs from all enemies if this attack kills an enemy. This effect cannot be resisted. With all that damage increase, with the potential increased defense, with some nice ignore defense you'll build into his kit, any additional support, it is very likely this super powerful AoE is going to kill someone, and he will fully strip everything. It will not need to be resisted. This is the only portion of his kit that would need accuracy, but because if it happens, it's irresistible, you can entirely ignore accuracy on him. It is so, so good. And now you'll see he's got his TMNT Unity skill. This is going to hit harder and harder and harder because every additional turtle besides this copy of Leonardo you're bringing, so any Leonardo dupes or any Donatellos, Raphaels, or Raphaels, will allow him to ignore 15% of each target's defense. So if you're running him with 3 turtles, he's ignoring 45% of the target's defense. He's almost certainly going to kill somebody. Then if we've got 2 turtle allies, he's going to increase the damage dealt by this skill in proportion to his missing HP. Because of his passive, he's very often going to be at about 50% HP, so it's going to be about a 50% boost. That is excellent. And then finally, this is the craziest part, and this is why you kind of want to run 4 turtles together. If there are 3 other turtle allies, he's going to activate this skill whenever any ally's HP drops below 50%. This occurs once per skill. So that's anyone's turn if they use one skill and one of his allies has their HP knocked below 50%, boom. It's crazy, and he's just spamming. The passive I've hinted to a couple times. He will place a stone skin on himself for 1 turn every single time his HP drops below 50%, occurs once per skill. So what you're going to want to do is have some kind of healing in his kit or in your team comp so he can keep fluctuating near 50%, but going up a little bit, getting knocked back down. He will keep self-applying stone skin, and he's going to be impossibly hard to kill, and he's going to hit brutally. He's going to be amazing. He's so good. He's so cool. It's very, very exciting. Let's go to Tetsuya now. You can see Larry's already got him. We'll go a little bit faster since I think he's amazing, but Leo's the star just because it's TMNT season. If we go to this A1, probably the worst part of his kit, this move hits hard, but compared to how ridiculously hard his A2 and A3 hit, it's just kind of normal. I do like this a bit of utility. He's going to fill the turn meter of all allies if this is a crit. So unless he's getting a weak hit, of course you're going to build him with 100% crit rate. It is an AoE increased turn meter of 10%. That's really nice. And it does hint towards the theme of his kit, which is a lot of things relating to turn meter. Speaking of which, we've got the A3 now. This books down to a 3-turn cooldown. He's going to attack 1 enemy twice. He will place 2 extra hits if the target's turn meter is less than 50%. Furthermore, he will ignore a percentage of the target's defense that is equal to the target's current turn meter. So think of it this way. If their turn meter is low, under 50%, he is going to be putting out not a double hitter, but a quadruple hitter and ignoring a little bit of defense. Maybe not even a little bit. I mean, if they're at 49%, you're still ignoring 49% of defense and getting the quad hitter. But if you're targeting someone with over 50% and very likely very high turn meter, no, you don't get the extra 2 hits, but you're ignoring a wild amount of defense. If they're about to go and they have 95% turn meter, you're probably ignoring 100% of defense because you're going to have some kind of ignore defense built into his kit. Really, really, really good. Really, really, really good. He's also going to reset the cooldown of this skill if the target's killed. This makes him really good in PvP where you can kind of thoughtfully target things out and you can spam this skill a little bit. Very nice. Then we've got his Unity skills and his S3. He attacks 1 enemy, steals 100% of their current turn meter, and places a true fear debuff on them for 2 turns. The multipliers on this are very good. He hits very hard, and it only gets better if you have other Shadowkin faction allies on the team. That is through his Shadowkin Unity skills. So if there's one other Shadowkin, the turn meter steal effect and the true fear debuff cannot be resisted. That's pretty clutch because then you don't need to build any accuracy on him. This is the only skill he has that requires any accuracy. Then if there are 2 faction allies, he increases the damage inflicted by this skill based on the difference between his speed and the target speed. For a DPS, he's pretty fast, nothing crazy. But if you've got the 2 faction allies, you're definitely going to want to build him speedy because that's a big damage increase potentially. Finally, if there are 3 faction allies, he will also attack all other enemies with over 50% turn meter, so anyone else who's anywhere close to going, sealing all of their turn meter as well, and also placing a True Fear on them. This is amazing. If you can run him with 3 other Shadowkin, that is so cool. Finally, his passive, Scourge of Mikage, fills the champion's turn meter by 15% whenever an enemy champion takes a turn. Anytime any enemy goes, he gets a 15% turn meter fill. There's no cooldown. It's just going to cycle his turns phenomenally well. Now, more Unity stuff. If there's one Shadowkin ally, turn meter increase effects used on all allies. Any allies on the team, regardless of faction, those turn meter increase effects will be 20% more potent, 20% more effective. And the turn meter increase effects given to enemies that they might be applying to each other, those will all be 20% less effective. Now, if we have 2 Shadowkins, whenever this champion has his turn meter filled, he's going to increase the damage of his next attack by 5%. This will reset after a skill is used, but any turn meter boost he gets between skills, between his turns, they're going to be ramping up his damage. And you can see that will very nicely synergize with the normal passive effect. So as he's waiting and enemies are taking turns and he's getting his turn meter boosted, all those turn meter boosts are also leading to him dealing more damage when he finally does get that turn. Finally, this is crazy. Again, this is all allies. If there are 3 Shadowkin on the team, all of his allies become immune to turn meter reduction from enemies. So that is a very nice resistance he gives your team. He is great. Is he super duper duper top tier like a Fina or something? No. But is he freaking excellent? Yes. Is he a very desirable Unity champ? Yes. Would he synergize very well in a comp with him and 4 turtles? Yes. I think that'd be pretty fun. Certainly him and Leonardo could have a lot of fun together. I think this is a really cool pool. I don't think it's 100% for everybody, but if you're trying to get some points for the champ chase this coming weekend, and certainly if you want an early opportunity to get Leonardo, I think this is pretty cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new here, please do subscribe to the channel. I mean, if you made it to the end of this 25-minute video and you haven't subscribed, I mean, what are you doing? Help a brother out. It goes a really long way. We're growing steadily every single day. Also, if you're new to Raid or you want to start over or you want to start another account, I have the best download link in Raid Shadow Legends. You'll find the link in the description in the top pinned comment. You get 4 insanely good top tier epics basically immediately, including Deacon Armstrong, who you literally get the second you finish the tutorial to start the game. You just start with him waiting for you in your mailbox. It's crazy. Thank you guys. Share it with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.